Prologue. Year 2000. The light rain fell and the moon wasn't visible because of the heavy cloud cover. The weather was one of the many reasons why they'd picked tonight for this mission. A long row of streetlights illuminated the sidewalk, and the usually busy road had minimal traffic at this time of night. The bright sign by the building read Northeast Regional Hospital. About 100 yards south of the sign was a narrow paved drive. There, a smaller unlit sign read Authorized Traffic Only. This drive led to a dark alcove between the original hospital and an addition that was added on in the late 70s. This area was restricted and unlit because no one wanted to see where the hospital kept the dumpsters. There were several hedges and a few ornamental trees in place to help partially obscure the drive. Without warning, deep in the alcove, a neon blue light began to form between two dumpsters. It started about 3 feet off the ground and quickly grew to about 6 feet high and 2.5 feet wide. As soon as it reached full size, a medium-height woman with a slender build stepped from the portal and into the alcove. The light disappeared. During the 6 seconds the portal existed, there was a connection between our time period and another, which wouldn't exist again for almost 100 years. The woman stumbled, grabbed hold of the dumpster, and used it to balance herself. She took several deep breaths to help her focus, and then withdrew a small device from the pocket of the light blue hospital scrubs she wore and pressed it to her neck. She grimaced from a brief moment of pain where she had touched her neck. Then she relaxed as a warm feeling passed through her body. She returned the advanced auto-injector to her pocket and waited for a few seconds as the 4 medications took effect. She could already feel that the analgesic and powerful stimulant were working, and she started walking toward the sidewalk. The anti-nausea drug seemed to be helping, but not nearly as well. The 4th medication she couldn't detect, but she was told that it would slow down the lethal cellular collapse that was destroying her body. She knew she had to get moving. The auto-injector held only 2 more doses, and she needed to accomplish her mission before the final one wore off. She exited the alcove and moved to the sidewalk. Turning right, she strode toward the main hospital entrance with growing concern as she advanced. Her nausea seemed to be getting worse with each step, and she could already feel her strength fading. Fortunately, she knew the layout of the hospital, having studied it well before her mission. The main entrance was just ahead, and only a few other people were headed in the same direction she was. The woman passed through the glass sliding door, and a security guard sat at a desk just inside. She turned to the ID tag that hung from her scrub so the guard could see the Northeast Region logo and kept walking. The ID bore the name Abby Russell. That had been a joke by those that had fabricated the card. Abby Russell was the name of the last person to ever serve as President of the United States. "Thanks, have a good shift," the guard said. The dying woman continued to walk, thinking how easy that had been. She knew the minimal levels of security were a primary reason for using this time period for the mission. She made her way to the bank of elevators, double-checking her knowledge against the sign which said that maternity was on the 4th floor. Once the elevator had closed, she leaned back against the wall as the car started to move. She closed her eyes, resting and thankful that she was alone. The pain continued to increase. Her head hurt the worst, but her gut and extremities also ached, and that pain was getting worse rapidly. The elevator doors opened, and with considerable effort, she forced herself to walk out of the elevator car and down the hall. She knew she wasn't walking straight, and even felt herself stumbling, but she needed to keep going. She hoped no one would see her and think she was intoxicated. Per the plan, it was still too early for another injection. If she took them too soon, she wouldn't be able to make it back to the portal and home. Casually, she passed the nurse's station, noting one man seated working on a computer. She smiled, relieved to see that the research had been correct and her scrubs matched his. At least her dress wouldn't draw attention. Next down the hall was the infant room. Inside were 12 bassinets, only 6 of which had babies in them. A female nurse was in there changing the diaper on one of the infants. Neither of the staff had paid any attention to the stranger, who purposefully traversed the corridor. At the end of the hall, she turned left and found what she was looking for, a door marked Utility. She struggled, but